Greetings. This is Top Hat and Buttered Popcorn. My name is John Savers. I'm your host, and today we'll take a look at a couple of films, beginning with Up. This is a Disney film. I thought it was a very good one. One of the few Disney films, it seems, nowadays. It was not a kind of animated musical. This particular film, animated film, is kind of a two-parter in a way. The entirety of the first half of the film could be described as a love story. One that begins in childhood and ends with the death of one of the partners. It's a kind of cozy, it's sometimes touching kind of a rendering of two people who are very happy with each other and their lives, which included some minor adventures which they both relished. In fact, as children, they met sort of on that basis. That is, they both were adventurers at heart, and they both had a common hero, a rather famous American of the time, balloonist, adventurer, and all the kids looked up to this person. This person went off and was not heard from for some time, but the story concentrated on the basic domestic life of these two as they go from childhood to old age. Along the way, we get an animated glimpse of an episode which told us that the woman, Ellie, the wife, would not bear children. The man of the house, Fredrickson, as I recall his name, kind of stays very loyally at the house after the passing away of his wife. All around him, construction. In fact, we have a rendering of some of the top on-site men involved in the construction. They're kind of rendered as men in black. There's something rather sinister looking about them. But they would find that the old man was rather formidable. He didn't want to sell, and he was sticking in his house, although all around him they were digging giant holes to put giant buildings. He still tried to keep a routine, and one day a Cub Scout comes visiting, and we are introduced to the character who would become a kind of a substitute son, the son he never had. Conveniently, this boy has some problems at home which don't seem to really affect his personality too much. It's almost as if he's too young to understand or something. But at any rate, he's a Cub Scout who's looking to earn a last badge. And he can earn that badge if he helps an old person perhaps cross the street or something like this. So we see them encountered in this way, and the old man is not having any part of that, doesn't want to get involved in that, and kind of finds a pretext for sending the boy on a wild goose chase, as it were, a shrike chase, if that's the best word. The events kind of put an unbearable pressure on the old man, and he's in danger of losing his house and being sent to an old folks' home. And he has, throughout his life, made a living by vending balloons, and he gets the idea of tying balloons, a great mass of balloons around his house, and to there like a great balloon, like his hero of old, his childhood hero. He would take his ballooned house to the scenic lost valley or where a great falls existed, and to set the house next to the falls, as he and Ellie had kind of hoped to do. Along the way, it just so happens that it works, and along the way, we find out that the lad, the Cub Scout, has also been forced to travel. He was kind of under the stairs or something of the sort, and got taken up with the house. It's a kind of a wonderful scene, and they continue on in this adventure. It is connected to the first part, that is in terms of motivation for the old man, Fredrickson. And it also has the seeds to evolve into a new adventure, which eventually it will. It also allows a kind of a coming of age, as it were, for the old man who still had his faith for the adventurer, because when they finally land the house in the vicinity of the scenic spot, he finds out that also on that location, in that vicinity, is the balloon hero of long ago, and he finds out that the balloon hero is not quite the sterling character that he thought. From old, we know that this hero liked dogs, and by now on this spot, through nature, he has a veritable battalion of dogs that serve his interests, and he has communication devices with it. I thought that this film was a little bit patronizing toward dogs, a man's best friend, and they are made to seem a little dopier than they actually are, I think. But anyway, there was a lovable poking of fun at them. And some of the dogs rendered personalities that may have flashed the true personality as it is at this time of the old hero adventurer, the balloonist. What caused the problem for the balloonist? Well, he had made discoveries of creatures that probably should be extinct or never had been found before, and scientists looking over the bones and so forth cast doubt about the authenticity. He was declared a fraud, and he vowed to go back and prove that he every word that he had said in regard to his discovery. There on that location for all this time, he has been looking for this bird, and it's of course beyond credibility that he could not find the bird, because that's almost immediately the first thing that is found by the boy, the Cub Scout. At any rate, the Cub Scout and the boy become the Cub Scout and the bird become close friends. The bird takes the boy under the feather, and the boy takes the bird as a great friend and pet, something akin to a dog in the way. Also, one of the balloonist dogs turns out to be a sort of turncoat who has now exchanged masters and declares the old man to be his master. The old man says, "I'm not your master," and so forth. But at any rate, he's sort of won over, because the dog does prove to be useful and likable in its way. So they kind of form a little family, as it were, the old man and the boy, the dog and the bird. And their opposition on the ridge at that time is the balloonist with his battalion of dogs, and he is actually portrayed as somebody desiring to get rid of the old man and the boy. He wants that bird. It's going to prove that everything he said was true and vindicate him, and this is the only thing that he values. And the life of the old man and the boy and so forth like this are completely and utterly insignificant compared to proving that he indeed had found what he had found, and here's the evidence, here's the bird. So you have something of the mad scientist evolve into the adventurer. The adventurer evolve into a kind of a mad scientist in the way. The inside of his very roomy balloon perched on the ridge actually has a kind of museum to rival the National Museum, the Smithsonian's Natural Museum, in terms of bones and so forth of dinosaurs and whatnot. So we do see some personality problems having crept up in this man. However, he also offers as a kind of a foil and a mechanism for the old man to finally cut his ties with the past and to set forth with the boy kind of on a new adventure. And the film sort of ends up as a kind of a epilogue in which we see that they have kind of bonded and become a kind of a father-son type to their mutual benefit. So it's a pretty nice film with a good deal of typical Disney humor and charm.